Before I start, our stewardship committee is doing a great job this year and has developed the nuts and bolts that are always needed to put framework around this thing called stewardship in the fall. But I'm going to talk a little bit today about something a little different. And I'd like to start by saying good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. On a day like this, it has to be showered. I was over in the hallway listening to the gospel, and it says in the rubric that the sermon will be preached on the gospel for the day. I can assure you this homily or talk or whatever it is will not be on that gospel. It's tough, and I couldn't weave it in, so we're going to go with some other comments. But it is that time of the year, as Paul said, this is the time when all those wacky Episcopalians start talking about something that we shy away from talking about. We talk about money. Yep, it's that time to talk about stewardship in our parish. But today, I want to talk about how that stewardship relates to us individually and with our personal relationships, not just amongst one another, but with God. Today, I want to talk about a different way of looking at the messages that we hear every fall. And in fact, I would like to talk today about a stewardship message that is sometimes lost in all of the hustle and bustle. A personal message, a message about our relationship with God. To begin with, I would like to speak a couple of minutes on what I see as stewardship and some things that I don't believe are good stewardship or good faithful stewardship. In other words, what it is and what it is not. Now keep in mind, I'm not a professional. I spent some time on stewardship commission in the diocese many years ago, and I developed these deeply seated beliefs over time, but I'm here today to provide some additive comments to the work that the committee is doing here in the parish. First, stewardship is a belief. It's a belief that all that we have, all creation, everything amidst us, comes from God. It doesn't come from other people. It doesn't come from government programs. It doesn't come from companies or unions or associations or country clubs or even from the church. Everything that we have comes from God. Stewardship giving is that response to that enormous gift where we give for no other reason than we are in love with the God that is so gracious and kind to us. And we have a need to respond to those gifts. See, stewardship is a realization that where our hearts are, so lie our treasure. And it's part of worshiping an almighty but loving God. Inherent in this belief of stewardship is the understanding that we have a very real need to return the gifts that He gives us to Him to further His work. It's sometimes called Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving comes once a year. Thanksgiving comes every day. It's giving because we have a God-given need, an emotional need, a physical need to give thanks. A need that is led by faith and giving that is sacrificial. Each of us have this inherent need, every one of us, because we are given so much. You may feel this need when you walk into the grocery store at Christmas time and there's the lady with the kettle from the Salvation Army, and you reach in your pocket, reflexively put something there because you know that it's going to something good. You may feel it when you acknowledge, very humbly, that you've been successful because God has given you a special talent. Something that you couldn't do. You've accomplished something that you could never accomplish without that special talent that you didn't. You did not derive it from your training or your education. It's something innate that God has given you. Or you may feel it when you're overwhelmed by the realization that God has given each of us loving relationships with our family, our friends, our faith community, and those beyond. Those who share a special bond with us. Those who we have a need to give love back to. This is a feeling from your heart. It's not logical. It isn't head work. It's heart work. It's like faith. It's almost mystical. But it's how we're made. It's how God chose to make us. And we have that need, and when you accept it, you will feel it. And when you feel it, you will accept it. Now, there are things that people get confused about when they talk about stewardship, faithful stewardship. And I want to talk just a couple of minutes about them as well. For instance, faithful stewardship really isn't a program or a campaign or a pithy statement or a pithy slogan or a goal on a chart. That's giving to a need. No, stewardship is not philanthropy. Philanthropists are good people, and philanthropy is a good thing, but it's about giving to a need. Sure, the needs out there in the world, the things that we are faced every day, that philanthropy responds to, are needs that need to be attended to. They're important needs, but philanthropy does not involve a direct connection to God or God's kingdom. It does involve a solicitation, where someone raises your awareness of a need, something that you've made that your community needs, and they convince you to reach in your wallet, and you respond to that need. It's a good need, but it's given to the need. Giving to the need is the United Way. We've all had the solicitation from the United Way, the Combined Federal Campaign, the Combined Virginia Campaign, and it's a very celebrated, fair share approach to giving. Everybody, pony up. It's your turn to meet the goal. All of us should give till it hurts. God would say, give until it feels good. No, the fair share way is not faithful stewardship. Now, I give to charities and I support organizations and causes. I will stand here in weeks to come and ask you to support the ALS Association. I will solicit your help there, but that's fundraising. Fundraising works. That's why people do it. The fair share approach to giving has served the United Way well for scores of years. But it is not. Make no mistake about it. It is not faith-based giving, and it is not what Jesus asked us to do. Now, this is the continuum of giving. All this giving is very good. The world on one side, Christ on the other. Fair share giving, faithful stewardship giving. We all fit somewhere on that continuum. Bill Gates fits over here very clearly for being on the fair share part. He's giving away hundreds of millions of dollars, and that's a good thing, I'm sure. I don't know whether he is called by God to do that or not. In reading what he said, he's certainly giving his fair share. But I look at the woman who gave her mite, the widow, who gave all that she had in recognition and appreciation and in faith for what little she had been given. When it comes right down to it, she gave all. Fair share giving is person-centered. It's person to person. A solicitation, giving to an organization, giving to that personal need. A faithful steward is giving because Christ is in her or his life. God has touched them. That person recognizes their need to give back. With fair share giving, you get recognition. Your name is in the book. It's on it's in the Book of Gifts that you get at the University of Richmond every year. At least I do. And I always look for my name. It's there. I get the recognition. But what I need to give, the real opportunity here is to respond to the need, not for the recognition, but to answer that need. And finally, with fair share giving, you get a tax benefit. Now, I did my 2011 taxes last week. Yes, I got the October extension. I finished my taxes, and I looked for every tax benefit I could. And I captured as many as I could because that's the way we live in this fair share world. But in the world of faithful stewardship, we're looking for fulfillment. We're not looking for the tax benefit. We're looking for the fulfillment that relationship that we have that God gives us like nothing else that we have in life. Now, how do we move from fair share giving to faithful stewardship? We're all on this continuum somewhere. Well, this is where I get to step back and say some weasel words and say, I don't have that answer. You see, faithful giving is part of your personal relationship with God. And I can't answer that for you. We're Episcopalians. We're taught that there are no easy answers. We're the yes but church. I can give you an opinion, but there's another opinion that's equally valid. So we don't practice telling people what they should do. Really, it's none of anyone else's business. Purely and simply, it's a conversation for you to have with God through prayer. So I can't and won't tell you what you should give. Not just because I don't know what you make or what you have, but because I don't know how you respond to God's call. I do know this, that the church, and that's a church with a capital C, tends to interfere in our relationship with God in this manner when we resort to those catchy programs and talk about fair shares and discussing the math thing. The math thing, that's when we take the budget. I've been there so I can say this. You take that budget and you do the math thing to it. You divide it up and you figure out, well, if everybody just gave this, or if everybody just increased their giving 1%, look how much more we could do, look what we could accomplish, what we could do to give to a budget. That is not giving because we have the need to give. That's giving to a very specific need. I absolutely believe that your need to give has nothing to do with a thermometer, although sometimes here in the church it's good to have a thermometer up here and put the air conditioning on or turn it down, but it doesn't matter whether we're making our goal or not. It also doesn't matter about the statistics. You see, if you try to put God in a box of statistics, well, you'll fail because God is bigger than statistics. He's bigger than the box. God is the box. He is everything. And so if we think that we can just figure it out, God has a better answer. And God's better answer is your relationship with Him and how you are called to respond. Now, I have a couple of suggestions about things that you could consider as you are looking to respond to that need that you have to give. They're my suggestions, and one is pretty controversial. Well, one is controversial, but it'll surprise you possibly. As you look at your personal response, I'll tell you what I think. The first thing I realize is that it's about my relationship with God. It's about my need to give back. And it has nothing to do with what happens to the gift. I don't care what happens to what money I can afford to give to this place called St. Matthias. I don't care. Because it didn't belong to me in the first place. And I place my gift on the altar of this parish because the primary work of this place is to bring people in closer relationship with God. That's what we as a faith community are called to do. And I have faith that our rector and the vestry will carry out that charge, that great commission. I have total faith in that. And I'll leave that primary work to their leadership. If they fail, well, it doesn't change my relationship. So why should I care about what happens to the gift that I lay on that altar? That altar gift is given freely without strings. And it doesn't change my need to give, that we may not be successful, whatever successful is. Next, I suggest that you consider a basic standard in guiding and giving. You know, in the Old Testament, the standard was the tithe. That meant that in early days, you cornered your fields, you cut away 10%, and you gave that back to the community. The tithe became the standard. 1/10 of what you made, that is what was recognized as the acceptable gift to your faith community. And then Jesus came along. And Jesus said, give it all away. Give away everything you own. Give away your family. Give it all away and follow me. I'm not preaching on that gospel today either. Because I can't grasp that. I have never been able to grasp that amount of giving in my life. Because my family means so much to me. But I have made an effort to reach a standard by striving to tithe. Some years better than others. Some years more. Some years, frankly, a lot better than others. It's a function of how things work in my life. But it helps me to guide that response by understanding where things fall, not just in this continuum, but in my life continuum. And I suggest that you do that. I also suggest that you think about ways to give of your time. I try to give of the time that I have to things that I think will advance the will of God. I share my bigger talents when they fit the need, whatever it may be. And I attempt to be a good steward of relationships. See, I try to be there for a friend in need. I try to care just a little bit more than I did yesterday. And I want to be involved in my family and my friends' lives. Because God needs hands and feet on this earth. And that's what we're called to be in relationship one-to-one for. So that we can carry that work of God on throughout our faith community and beyond. Because that is the stewardship of relationships. But again, your relationship to God is different than mine. Doesn't mean it's better. It certainly doesn't mean it's worse. It just means it's yours. It's not mine. So I don't want you to think that I have your answers today. This isn't a paint by the numbers thing. It's a recognition that we have gifts of time and talent, treasure, and relationships. And together, when you assess those and you understand your need to give in all of those places, then you will recognize more of God in your life. I do have faith that if you respond to the need, your inherent need to give worshipfully and freely for all that God has done for you and me and all of us, this place, called St. Matthias, will continue to meet the Great Commission day in and day out. That will be taken care of. We will have more largesse to share with the community, as Paul was saying, than we could ever imagine. Ever imagine. I hope you'll do that. I hope you'll think about it as your relationship with God this year and your relationship with those in your faith community. It really feels good. And God wants the faithful people to be happy. And He wants good stewards.